When you think of yoga, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Probably stretching, right? Flexibility, maybe a little bit of But what if I told you that beneath the surface of those poses, there's a powerful, science-backed tool that can literally retune your body to fight the stress of our modern lives? Let's dive into the real science behind the stretch. First things first, we need to understand the scale of the problem we're all up against. We live in a world of constant notifications, deadlines, and pressures, and it's taking a serious, measurable toll on our health. Just look at this number, 90%. According to research from Harvard Health, a staggering 90% of all doctor visits are linked to stress-related problems. That's not a small number. It's a full-blown epidemic. This isn't just about feeling overwhelmed. This is about our bodies literally breaking down under the pressure. So, this brings us to the core question, right? Can an ancient practice like yoga, something that's been around for thousands of years, offer real, verifiable biological proof that it can fight back against this modern crisis? We're going beyond just feeling good here and looking for cold, hard facts. Okay, let's get into the evidence. This is where we put yoga under the scientific microscope to see what is actually happening inside our bodies when we get on the mat. A recent study in Scientific Reports did exactly that. They took a group of medical students, talk about a population known for insane pressure and no sleep, and had them follow a 10-week yoga program, the absolute perfect test group to see if yoga could make a difference under extreme stress. And here's the key finding, the real game changer, how quickly the benefits showed up. The study concluded that you can get real, quantifiable changes in both your immune system and your mental health in just 10 weeks. That's huge for anyone who thinks they don't have years to see results. And the changes were across the board. We're not just talking about feeling a bit more relaxed. The study found significant boosts to immune function, alongside measurable drops in anxiety, depression, and just overall stress. Remember that 90% statistic? A full system upgrade like this is the physiological antidote. But how? How does stretching and breathing actually strengthen your immune system? Well, the answer lies in that amazing mind-body connection, and specifically a critical piece of our internal wiring. Let me introduce you to the vagus nerve. This is the superstar of your parasympathetic nervous system, your body's rest and digest system. Think of it as the master switch that can take you out of that high-alert fight-or-flight mode and into a state of calm and recovery. Let's walk through it step by step. First, you practice deep breathing, especially with a nice long exhale. Second, that action directly stimulates the vagus nerve. That stimulation then sends a signal to your body to pump the brakes on the stress hormone cortisol. And the result? With cortisol dialed down, your immune system, which gets hammered by chronic stress, can finally function properly again. It's a direct biological chain reaction. Pretty cool, right? And these effects aren't just in your gut or your immune cells. Yoga physically remodels the most important organ you have, your brain. I absolutely love this metaphor from Harvard Health. It's so perfect. It's not just about building muscle in your arms and legs. Every time you practice, you are actively strengthening and changing the very structure and function of your brain. You can see it clearly right here in these MRI scan comparisons. On the left, a typical brain shows that normal age-related shrinkage in key areas. But look at the brain on the right. From a regular yoga practitioner, it shows a thicker cerebral cortex and hippocampus. Those are the zones for processing information and memory. It seems yoga might actually help counteract age-related cognitive decay. And it's not just structure, it's chemistry too. Yoga actually elevates levels of a brain chemical called GABA, which is basically your brain's natural chill pill. As you can see in the chart, after a yoga session, those GABA levels are significantly higher than the baseline. A single session literally bathes your brain in chemicals that make you feel calm. Okay, so the why is pretty compelling. Now for the how. Let's break down what an effective practice actually looks like to get these incredible benefits. Research points to 4 key components. First, pranayama, that's the formal name for the mindful breathing we've been talking about. This is what directly kicks off that calming pathway. Second, inversions, which are poses that get your legs up. Third, twists, which help stimulate your internal organs. And finally, savasana, the deep relaxation phase. And you don't have to start with a headstand or some wild pretzel pose. A simple restorative pose like child's pose is incredibly effective. It gives you a chance to connect with your breath, get a gentle stretch, and just let your nervous system reset. It's all about accessibility. And please, whatever you do not skip the end. Savasana, or corpse pose, is not just a nap. It is the crucial final step where your body integrates all the work you've just done. The science shows the immune benefits are directly tied to how deeply you relax here, as your rest and digest system fully takes over. All right, so how does this ancient practice actually fit into our modern, digital, often chaotic lives? The good news is, it's more accessible than it is ever been. Online yoga has absolutely exploded, and it's a perfect fit for so many people. If you're new and maybe feel a little intimidated, or you need a consistent tool for stress, or your schedule is just all over the place, or hey, you just prefer practicing in private, virtual platforms remove all those barriers. And you've got tons of options. Whether you want personalized one-on-one sessions, the energy of a live group class, or a mix of both, there are platforms out there designed to fit your schedule and your budget. The key is finding a format that you'll actually stick with. What's also really important is that yoga continues to evolve. You have specialized forms now like trauma-sensitive yoga, which are designed to be a supportive therapy that creates a safe environment and gives people a sense of choice and ownership over their own bodies. This adaptability is really key to its modern relevance. So the main takeaway here is clear. We need to reframe how we think about yoga. It is not just another form of exercise. It's a comprehensive health practice that demonstrably retunes your physiology, making you more resilient from your immune cells all the way up to your brain. And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. In our search for health solutions, we often look outward for a new pill or new tech. But what if the most powerful tool for unlocking your body's own resilience isn't out there at all, but is already waiting for you inside your own breath?